What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to today's edition of Free Tool Friday. As you can tell, I have a nice new tool to play with so that I can help explain to you the importance of leads for creating your dream accounting firm. And when we start to talk about marketing, I know a lot of people think it's mythical or you need to have fancy things to be able to successfully market, but the truth is that you don't. What we need to stay focused on is that marketing is not mythical, it's actually exceptionally methodical, and math is the path to creating your dream firm, or at the very least, to getting a consistent pipeline of high quality leads that are interested in investing in your incredibly valuable services. So what I want to do is I want to start off today by talking a tiny bit about sales in relation to that you have a goal that you want to hit, okay, in terms of growing your firm. I know you do. And in order to reach that goal, we have to identify what that goal is and how much you want to make, right? It's pretty simple. So we might say, well, I want to add $100,000 to my practice over the next year. So we'll just say the goal is $100,000, okay? 100K. And so when we look at that goal, we'll say, okay, well, the type of clients that I want to pick up is I want my average client to be worth $10,000 a year, okay? And you could change this number as you see fit, but we're going to say average client is worth 10K per year, okay? And so when we look at this, we're now able to say, okay, well, I need essentially 10 clients to be able to reach this $100,000 per year goal. Safe to say, right? But now this is where the sales component starts to come into play. So we say, okay, well, if I need to get 10 clients, I need to think about my sales and my ability to create these engagements. And we might say, well, what's my closing rate? And before I go any further, I know I use the term sales a lot. And unfortunately, for some reason, I feel like sales has become sort of a dirty word, but I'm not really here to argue about why it's become a dirty word. The point is you have to be willing to embrace sales in a meaningful way so that you can ultimately reach this goal. If you shy away from it, it's never going to work. And sales, again, to me, is the transfer of emotion from one person to another. As long as you believe in your ability to change somebody's life for the better, that's sales. And yeah, does the monetary part come into it? Absolutely. But when we have clarity on what we're looking for, what we're shooting for, it makes the sales process a lot easier, and we don't need to play high pressure, silent close games that don't make any sense. So let's go ahead and jump into how we're going to start to work from these two numbers to ultimately lead gen, figuring out the math to being hyper efficient in reaching this goal. And of course, the numbers are interchangeable for your particular situation. So if we know that we're talking about sales to be able to get to this number, the next thing that comes into consideration is your closing percentage. You have to look at this and say, well, what is my closing percentage, right? So we're going to say, well, my closing percentage is 25%, okay? And I think that's a completely fair number. Some people might say, well, wait a minute, Tyler. When I talk to someone, I close 80 to 90% of those people. And I say, that's great. Out of curiosity, are those referrals by any chance? Oh, well, yeah, that is my primary lead source. I go, well, you should be closing 80 to 90% of your referrals. I hope you are. But if you're, but now when we move into getting more opportunity as opposed to just happen to having things come across our desk from, again, amazing service that you deliver, people speak well on your behalf, that's fantastic. But it's normally not enough to reach more ambitious growth goals. And so when we recognize that, we say, okay, well, if I have a closing percentage of 25% and I know I need 10 clients to be able to reach this, what does that mean? That means in order to reach this growth goal, I need how many new leads? I need number of new leads to be, again, math is the path. So what is the answer, right? What is the answer? Help me out here in the comment section. The answer, of course, is I need 40 plus leads. If there's some variance in 25%, maybe a little lower, maybe not everybody shows up to the call, right? And that to me is an important thing for us to differentiate, because some people go, oh, you just need email addresses, or you need to do these things. Those are leads. Leads are scheduled phone appointments, but they're also quality scheduled phone appointments. So I like to overinflate this number, which is why we have the plus sign here, because things happen in people's lives. They can't show up for calls. They book a call, all of a sudden their business takes a turn for the south, realize they can't invest at this 10K per year level. There's a lot of reasons why people will make a commitment, but ultimately not show up for it. But there's one thing that I like to say when we talk about this, is that please be the type of client you want to have. Okay, I'm going to say that again. Please be the type of client you want to have. When you book a call, please make sure that you show up for that call, or if you can't, just give a heads up, provide a reason why you can't, because I can guarantee when you have these things operational for you that drive people to you, guess what? Now all of a sudden you're going, wait a minute, what happened here? Why didn't this work? And there are ways to optimize, tweak, and change that. We're going to talk about that on some other Free Tool Fridays later on, of how we can improve the likelihood that when someone says, hey, I'm going to book a call with you, how do we increase the chances that they show up? But for right now, let's stay focused on, we've got to get 40 new leads over the course of the year to be able to reach this $100,000 growth goal. If I get 40 leads in front of you, you close 25% of them at 10K per year, we're there, right? If anything, we should maybe even be doing a little bit better than that, okay? So here's the crux of this, though, is now this is where things start to get a little slippery for a lot of accounting firms. They go, well, I can do this, Tyler. I can understand that I need 40 leads to be able to get to this subsequent number up at the top here. But how do I get these leads? Where do these come from? And there are a lot of methods and technologies, or techniques, to help you to be able to get to this number, but I still want to break this down because I want to make it bite-sized. You know what I mean? I want to make sure that we have an understanding that we don't need 40 leads today. We need 40 leads over the next year, which isn't that bad, okay? Because 40 leads over the next year, let's see, I'm going to just do some napkin math right here, which means we need, let's see, I should have done this math ahead of time. Let's see, I'm just going to grab my phone so that I can do the math correctly. I know that I should be able to off the top of my head, but you know what's funny about that is that everyone tends to think that accountants are great at math, and in reality, they're not. You know, sometimes accountants are good at it, but not really. So I just want to make sure I did this right. Do we really only need that many? I think that's true. So we need an average of 3 leads a month, ladies and gentlemen. 3 times 12. I'm just going to make sure I did that math correct to make sure that that's correct. 3 times 12 is 36. So we need about, I'm going to just say 4 leads per month, right? If we get 4 leads per month, we are in good shape. 4 leads per month, or 1 lead per week. 1 lead per week is what we need to be able to do to get to a $100,000 growth goal. Does that sound overly difficult? Just when you look at it like this, again, forget all the strategies, tactics, implementation. When you just look at it and you break it down to this bite-sized, digestible way of approaching it, you go, well, all of a sudden that doesn't look that bad. Rightfully so. So this is where we now need to start to getting into the cost per lead. Because I know we haven't even talked about cost yet. And there's 2 types of costs that we need to focus on. And what I want to do is I want to focus on the one cost that is the costliest first. And that cost, of course, and I got to put this in red, is your time. So what we need to ask ourselves is how much time would be involved in generating these leads, selling these leads to be able to get to the $100,000 growth goal, okay? So I'm going to assign what I consider to be a very fair amount for a cost per lead of $100. Now, before anyone, freaks out here and says that's way too much, right? It's like $100 per lead. That sounds like a lot of money, Tyler. It's like, fair enough. Depending on your situation, I completely agree. But what we have to reflect on here is cash flow and this number up here, because this is the number that we want to be able to get to. So if we're saying it's $100 per lead, and I know I'm talking about time right now, what I want us to think about is, what is your time worth? So if I were to come to you and I were to say to you, hey, Mr. Professional Accountant, can you please invest the next 3 working days exclusively on my business? It won't impact your business a whole lot. Maybe I'll give you a referral, maybe, but I'm going to give you some cash. How much would I need to give you for 3 days of your effort working on systemizing the accounting functions of my business? How much would I need to give you? You have any idea? Think about it for a little bit, honestly. I'm asking you for effectively, let's just call it 8 hours per day, 24 hours of your effort. 1 full day of your life, essentially. What's your hourly rate? And you might say, well, I would charge, I'm just going to keep math simple. Let's say, I would charge you $200 an hour, okay? So what we're saying is, it's like, essentially, you've got a $200 per hour hourly rate, okay? Hour rate to do work. For you to go work and build somebody else's business, you've got a $200 per dollar hourly rate, okay? So when we take a look at that, and we know that if your hourly rate, and it could be whatever you set it at, is literally double what I would expect your cost per lead to be, doesn't it all of a sudden make a lot of sense for us to look at how we could better reinvest your time as well as your capital to have a lead system that flows up and through this? Because if you're taking your most precious resource, your time, to go and try and generate leads, you're literally saying, well, my cost per lead, if I don't get a lead by the end of this hour, I'm spending twice as much as I otherwise would need to. Now, that's not to say you're not going to have any time in your lead generation effort, but when you do invest your time into your lead gen effort, we have to do it in a way that creates consistent, repeatable results where you have leverage and you have predictable results. Because if you can't do that, you keep trading your time to hopefully maybe get one of these leads. That is what we have to stop doing. We have to stop doing that. So, okay. So now we've identified you've got $200 per hour of a rate. You can set it to whatever you want. It should at least be that, in my opinion, which is why I picked that number, because I know we're trying to get away from time as a billing thing, and I appreciate it. But at the end of the year, you will have worked a certain amount of hours and you will have had a certain amount of income. Should be pretty straightforward. You will have worked a certain amount of time. You have a certain amount of income. That is effectively your hourly rate. But your hourly rate, what you make, right, should not be tied directly to your output. And the only way to change that is through systems. And now we're getting into, well, what is the math for a lead generation system in your business that allows this to happen without you needing to take away from your ability to actually go and make money, okay? So I'm going to again say that we have a cost per lead of $100, okay? And that to me is on the high side, just to be clear, but I like to overemphasize as opposed to under. And this number can change depending on the type of lead you're looking to generate, but this to me is a fair place for us to be, okay? So we're gonna have $100 cost per lead. So anyway, $100 cost per lead. So we look at that and we say, well, if I need 40 leads, that means I need to invest $4,000. Okay, so $4,000 is your total cost. Well, I'll tell you what, total projected cost. So in other words, we're looking at this from the perspective of even, let's say you invested that full 24 hours, okay? Let's say you invested a full 24 hours, 3 non-stop work days on your own business, okay? On your own business. And so we're saying that was what, about $4,800 if I remember correctly? So we're saying $4,800 of your time. 24 hours, non-stop on a lead gen system, okay? So I'll even put that down here because I think it's worth making sure we get a cumulative understanding of what this realistically would take. So let's go ahead and say that it's $4,800 of your time. worth of time is what I say. $4,800 worth of your time. Again, you're not actually paying this, but it is your effective hourly rate to set these things up. So $4,800 worth of your time, because your time is incredibly valuable and it should have some sort of monetary association with it. So now all I need us to do is I need us to look at this and I need us to say, okay, if I can have a $100 cost per lead, very reasonable, and I can be able to say that, well, in order to get the 40 new leads that I need to be able to get to the number of clients that I need to reach my $100,000 growth goal, well, would I be willing to invest $8,800 to get to this? Would I be willing to spend this to get this? And in reality, this number really doesn't even necessarily apply. But the reason I use this number is because if you were to just try and spend only your time generating leads with no consistent, predictable, repeatable results, well, guess what happens is you create a bottleneck in your business, because what happens as soon as you actually get 2 or 3 clients? Well, the time that you were looking to spend to be able to do that, your time is gone. It's back into fulfillment now. So you can't reach this goal. You might grow by 10,000, you might grow by 20,000. But then all of a sudden we get to this point and go, whoa. We need to be able to invest this time to continue to justify spending this amount so that we can continue to speak to at least 1 lead per week. And if we speak to 1 lead per week, I close 1 client per month essentially. If I close 1 client per month at $10K per year, I easily reach my annual growth goal of $100,000 per year. So this math is subjective to your situation. It's subjective to the type of clients you want to work with. It's subjective to the type of client or the amount that you're looking to earn per client. But the principles of this are the same, and the principles can be summarized as what's your time worth, what's your goal, and how much are you willing to invest, and how well do you understand cash flow to be able to say, if I were to be able to invest this amount and know that if I invested $4,000, I'd get 40 leads, even cut it in half, I got 20 leads. Would this still be worthwhile? And if the answer to that question is yes, then the question you need to ask yourself is, why would we not prioritize implementing the things that made this happen? Math is the path to creating your dream firm. And as long as you can make the math work, and I assure you, you can, then the marketing part, the thing we're going to talk about for the rest of this month for Free Tool Fridays, that's the easiest part of the whole thing. It's the mindset and being able to justify, well, if I did need to invest this money, because if you didn't look at the rest of this, you said $4,000 for leads, you'd be like, no way, man, I can do it myself. And then we go, but wait, okay, so let's go and say you do it yourself. And now we're just staring at this number, but you don't even look at this number because you go, oh wait, this is actually free. This is free if I go and do it myself. It's like, no, actually that's the most expensive thing you could possibly attempt to do, is trade your time for hopefully maybe opportunity and then bottleneck yourself in your own business. So I hope you've enjoyed today's Free Tool Friday. This to me is an absolutely fundamental exercise that you have to go through. And again, just identify what your goal is. Identify what you want your average client to be worth, okay? Identify what your closing percentage is on non-referral activity. Understand the number of new leads that you would need to generate based on these 2 numbers to reach this goal, okay? Figure out how many leads you need on a monthly basis to make it more bite-sized, and then break it down to a weekly perspective as well. Understand what your hourly rate would be to be able to just go in and work for someone, to take time away from your business, to create more income, to build more systems so that you can make more income without more time involved, and say, what would that look like? Imagine it's 3 days, whatever time frame you want to assign to it, okay? Think about your cost per lead. This is a variable number. I set it at what I consider to be a very acceptable number, which is about $100 cost per lead. If anything, I think it's a little on the high side, but we can always work to get this lower. And if your average client, let's say your average client is double this amount, right? Let's say your average client's worth 20 or 25. You got that outsourced CFO, maybe 50,000. You're doing more strategic tax planning. You have a client that's getting ready to secure a multi-six-figure tax planning engagement. Ridiculous, but true. And so my point here is, again, you've got this number here, and you look at this and you go, but if my client was worth double or triple this amount, or even 10x this amount, what would I be willing to invest here? Especially knowing that this client's not going anywhere, right? My average client, this money's coming back again next year, as long as I do my job and meet my obligations. If anything, this number should grow year over year. So now we look at this and go, well, what if this number was 10 times this amount and this number was only 2 or 3 times this amount? Is it still a good trade? Do the math. And if the answer is no, then we go, well, this number's too high and this number is too low. We're paying too much for leads, or I'm investing too much time to generate leads, and I'm not making enough money to create the delegation and leverage in my business because I don't have the profit margins, or because I'm targeting the wrong space with the wrong message and it's not resonating, and my ad costs or my overall investments to generate leads are too high. Math is the path. But if you don't take the time to write out your personalized math, as opposed to just an example like this, it's not going to hit the way it needs to for you to be like, whoa, this is actually really, really tempting and promising. And as we continue to move forward each week this month, we're going to put in a new piece to be able to make sure that this math doesn't just stay on a whiteboard. It actually starts to generate results for you and your firm. So I hope you've enjoyed today's Free Tool Friday. If you have, drop a hashtag FTF in the comment section down below. And always remember that only you can create your dream firm, but we help you every step of the way. And I assure you, math is the path to creating your dream firm, and be sure to do that math on your own terms. I will see each and every single one of you on next Free Tool Friday next week. You're going to want to check that one out, so make sure to block off some time for it. Have a great one, everyone. Talk to you soon.